The massive view screen aboard the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber flickered to life, displaying a sight that made even the most seasoned representatives gasp. The small blue planet, dismissed by many as an insignificant speck in the cosmic expanse, had just achieved something unprecedented in the Council's 50,000 years of existence. "Impossible," whispered High Counselor Vex Thor, their crystalline form vibrating with disbelief. They've actually done it." The chamber erupted in murmurs as the feed showed Earth's defense fleet, cobbled together from retrofitted civilian vessels and hastily constructed warships, standing triumphant over the burning wreckage of the Drachnid invasion force. 3 months ago, when the Drachnids had announced their intention to pacify Earth and harvest its resources, the Council had written humanity off as yet another species destined for subjugation. After all, Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 20 years ago, practically infants by galactic standards. The Drachnids, with their centuries of military expertise and bioengineered warriors, were expected to conquer the planet within days. No one had counted on humanity's incredible capacity for innovation under pressure, or their burning desire to protect their home. "Play the transmission again," ordered Counselor Zena, her feathered crest rising in agitation. The holographic display rewound to the moment that had shocked the entire council into silence. A human captain, they later learned her name was Sarah Chen, stood on the bridge of her vessel, her uniform scorched but her eyes blazing with determination. "To the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady despite the chaos visible behind her. "For too long, you've stood by and watched as stronger species preyed upon the weak. You ignored our petitions for protection, dismissed our warnings about the Drachnids, and left us to face extinction alone." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "But humanity doesn't break under pressure. We forge ourselves stronger." The feed cut to external cameras showing the innovative tactics that had turned the tide. Converted cargo ships releasing clouds of self-replicating nanites that ate through Drachnid armor. Mining vessels repurposed into carriers for swarms of AI-guided fighter drones. And most impressively, the planetary defense network that no one had realized Earth was building, hidden in plain sight as communications satellites and weather monitoring stations. The council chamber fell silent as they watched the Drachnid fleet, pride of their military might, being systematically dismantled by a species that hadn't even reached the stars when most of the current council members took office. But it wasn't just the victory that sent shivers through the assembled representatives. It was the implications. "Fellow council members," Vex Thor's voice cut through the silence, "we're facing an unprecedented situation. Humanity has not only survived but has demonstrated military capabilities far beyond their expected technological level. More importantly, the High Counselor's crystalline form pulsed with worried lights. They've shown they can adapt our most advanced technologies and improve upon them within months instead of centuries." Another transmission cut through the chamber's communications, making several representatives flinch. It was Captain Chen again, but this time her expression was grimmer. "The Drachnid threat has been neutralized," she announced, "but humanity remembers those who stood by while our children were threatened. We're hereby announcing our withdrawal from the Galactic Council's jurisdiction." The chamber erupted in protests, but Chen continued undeterred. "Furthermore, Earth is establishing the Human Defense Alliance. Any peaceful species who have suffered under the Council's policy of non-intervention are welcome to join. We will not abandon others as we were abandoned." Counselor Zena's feathers flattened in distress. "They can't do this. The Council's authority has been absolute for 50 millennia. But looking at the determination in the human captain's eyes, she didn't sound convinced of her own words. That was before, Vex Thor responded quietly. "Before we made the mistake of forcing humanity to show its full potential." The High Counselor turned to address the chamber. "My fellow representatives, we're witnessing the beginning of a new galactic order. The question is no longer how to control humanity, but whether we can survive their justified anger." As if to emphasize the point, the holographic display showed more ships emerging from Earth's shipyards, each incorporating technologies that shouldn't have been possible for centuries to come. But there they were, a testament to humanity's incredible capacity to evolve and adapt. The council members watched in growing unease as diplomatic vessels from various younger species began setting course for Earth. The message was clear. A new power had emerged in the galaxy, one born from the council's own negligence. And as reports started coming in about human diplomatic missions reaching out to other marginalized species, a terrifying thought began to spread through the chamber. Had the council's dismissal of humanity as primitive just sparked the beginning of their own obsolescence? In the depths of space, Earth's newly commissioned defense fleet stood ready, a silent warning to any who might threaten their independence again. And in countless worlds across the galaxy, oppressed species looked up at their night skies with something they hadn't felt in millennia: hope. The question that haunted the Galactic Council's chambers now was not if humanity would reshape the galaxy, but how many of their ancient institutions would survive the change. And as more ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth, bearing representatives from dozens of species seeking alliance, one thing became crystal clear. The age of human isolation was over. The galaxy would never be the same again. The weeks following Earth's stunning victory brought changes that rippled across the galaxy like waves in a cosmic ocean. Within the newly established Human Defense Alliance headquarters in Geneva, Captain Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display showing the latest diplomatic requests. The number of species seeking partnership had grown from dozens to hundreds, each bringing their own stories of council negligence and oppression. "Another 14 applications today," reported Lieutenant David Park, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface. The young officer had been handpicked by Chen for his uncanny ability to spot patterns in diplomatic communications. "Most interesting is this one." He highlighted a message from a species known as the Araxians, silicon-based life forms who'd been denied council membership for 3 centuries due to their incompatible biology. Chen studied the message, her expression thoughtful. The victory against the Draconids had been necessary for survival, but what they were building now, this alliance of the overlooked and underestimated, could reshape the galaxy's future. "What's your assessment, David?" "The Araxians possess advanced quantum computing technology, but they've been carefully hiding their true capabilities from the Council. Just like we did." Park's eyes gleamed with excitement. "Their message includes technical specifications that could revolutionize our neural interface systems." This had become a common pattern. Species that had appeared primitive or technologically stagnant to the Council were revealing hidden depths, sharing innovations they developed in secret. Humanity's stand against the Draconids had given them the courage to step out of the shadows. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the massive shipyard complex that had produced humanity's defensive fleet was undergoing dramatic expansion. Admiral James Sullivan, architect of Earth's military strategy, watched as automated construction units swarmed around the framework of what would become the Alliance's first joint species military academy. "Never thought I'd see the day," remarked his second-in-command, Commander Yuki Tanaka, as they observed a Meridian transport ship, their crystalline hull glittering in Earth's sunlight, dock with the construction platform. The Meridians, masters of energy crystal technology, had been among the first to join the Alliance. 7 different species working together on a single project, and that's just the beginning. Sullivan nodded, but his expression remained guarded. "The Council's been too quiet lately. They're planning something. I can feel it." His instincts, honed through decades of naval service, had saved Earth during the critical early hours of the Draconid invasion. Now those same instincts were screaming that trouble was brewing. His concerns weren't unfounded. Deep within the Galactic Council's secure archives, a secret session was underway. High Counselor Vexthor faced unprecedented opposition as younger council members demanded action against the growing alliance. "The humans have gone too far," declared Counselor Drax of the Zentari Collective, his holographic avatar pulsing with angry red energy. "They're dismantling the very foundation of galactic order. Half of our member species are now questioning their allegiance to the Council." Vexthor's crystalline form dimmed slightly, a sign of weariness among their species. "And what would you suggest? Military action? The Draconids were among our strongest members, and humanity defeated them using technology we didn't even know they possessed. Now they have allies." "Then we must act more subtly," interrupted Counselor Zena. "Our intelligence, suggests that despite their impressive show of force, Earth's resources are stretched thin. The humans have committed everything they have to this alliance. Perhaps it's time to test their limits. Back on Earth, in a secured lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was about to prove just how wrong the Council's intelligence was. She stood before a gathered team of human and alien scientists, her hand resting on a sealed containment unit. What you're about to see represents 6 months of collaboration between Earth's Quantum Physics Division and Araxian computing experts, she announced. The containment unit's shields flickered and dropped, revealing a swirling vortex of nanoscale particles. The first successful fusion of human nanotech with Meridian crystal matrices and Araxian quantum algorithms. The assembled scientists watched in awe as the swarm of particles formed complex, ever-changing patterns. One of the Meridian scientists, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement, moved closer to the display. Impossible. You've created programmable matter that can interface directly with quantum fields. Elena smiled, but before she could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Lieutenant Park's voice came through the emergency communication system. Dr. Rodriguez, we need you in Geneva immediately. Our deep space arrays just detected something big. Hours later, in the Alliance's emergency command center, Captain Chen stared at the sensor readings with a mix of disbelief and growing concern. The data showed massive energy signatures approaching from multiple vectors, far larger than anything previously recorded. It's not just the Council, Park reported grimly. We're detecting ships from outside known space, dozens of civilizations we've never encountered before. They're all converging on Alliance territory. Ken's mind raced through the implications. Had their defiance of the Council attracted attention from beyond the known galaxy? Were these unknown civilizations potential allies or new threats? The sensor data showed technology far beyond even what the Council possessed. Admiral Sullivan's voice crackled through the command center's speakers. Captain, the Meridian ambassadors are requesting an emergency session. They say, he paused, his voice tight with tension. They say they recognize some of these energy signatures. Their ancient records speak of something they call the Precursor Fleet, ships belonging to the species that seeded the galaxy with life billions of years ago. Around the planet, Alliance defense platforms hummed to life as Earth's military went to high alert. In her lab, Dr. Rodriguez and her team worked frantically to weaponize their breakthrough. And in Council space, Vexthor received reports of the approaching fleet with growing dread, realizing that humanity's defiance had awakened something that had slumbered since before the Council's founding. The galaxy held its breath as the mysterious fleet drew closer, and in homes across Earth, humans looked to the stars with a mixture of fear and determination. They had survived the Drachnids. They had defied the Council. Whatever was coming, humanity and their new allies would face it together. But as Captain Chen studied the increasingly complex sensor data, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything, the Drachnid invasion, the Council's negligence, the formation of the Alliance, had been leading to this moment. And somewhere in the vast unknown of space, ancient eyes watched as their grand experiment approached its final phase. The massive fleet of unknown vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel just beyond Mars' orbit, their ancient hulls gleaming with patterns that seemed to defy the laws of physics. In the Alliance Command Center, now relocated to a hardened bunker beneath the Himalayas, Captain Chen and her team watched as the first detailed scans came through. Those ships, Admiral Sullivan's voice was barely a whisper. They're alive. The sensor data confirmed it. Each vessel was a hybrid of technology and biological systems far beyond anything the Alliance or Council had ever encountered. Living metal that could think, adapt, and evolve. The Meridian ambassador's crystalline form pulsed with rapid colors as they translated ancient texts in real time. According to our oldest records, the precursors believed that true civilization could only emerge through crisis. They seeded worlds with life, then returned to test their creations when they showed signs of reaching beyond their cradles. Dr. Rodriguez burst into the command center, her tablet displaying results from the quantum analysis team. Captain, you need to see this. The energy signatures from those ships. They're identical to patterns we discovered in human DNA, in everyone's DNA. All species in the galaxy share these markers. Before anyone could process this revelation, a transmission cut through every communication channel in the solar system. The message came in all languages simultaneously, carried by waves that seemed to ripple through space-time itself. Children of the stars, it began, you have reached the threshold. In orbit, Earth's defense fleet maintained formation, joined by ships from every alliance species. The combined force represented the greatest collection of military power in known space, and yet, against the living ships of the precursors, they seemed like toys in comparison. Lieutenant Park's hands flew over his console as he analyzed the transmission. Captain, I'm detecting something else embedded in the signal. It's a test. They're not just here to observe. They're going to force us to prove ourselves worthy of survival. As if confirming his words, the precursor fleet began to move. Their ships flowed like liquid metal, reconfiguring into formations that hurt the human eye to look at. Energy readings spiked across all spectrums as they prepared something. In her secured lab, Dr. Rodriguez and her mixed species team worked frantically to understand the connection between their programmable matter breakthrough and the precursor technology. Look at these patterns. She pointed to a holographic display showing their quantum crystal hybrid in action. They're not just similar to the precursor ships. They're exactly the same, just on a smaller scale. The Council, monitoring the situation from their supposedly secret observation posts, fell into chaos. We have to intervene, Counselor Drax demanded. If the humans fail this test, we'll all suffer the consequences. But Vex Thor, watching the sensor feeds with growing understanding, raised their crystalline limb for silence. No, they said softly. I don't think we were ever meant to intervene. That was our great failure. Back in the Alliance Command Center, Captain Chen studied tactical displays showing the positions of every ship, every weapon platform, every defensive installation they had. Years of preparation, months of collaboration with their new allies, all leading to this moment. But something wasn't adding up. The Drachnids, she said suddenly, causing heads to turn. Their invasion wasn't random. The Council's negligence, the formation of the Alliance, none of it was random. She turned to the Meridian ambassador. Your people kept records of the precursors, but you never acted on them. You were waiting. All of you were waiting for someone to do what we did. The ambassador's crystalline form vibrated in what the humans had learned was their equivalent of a solemn nod. Throughout history, species that reached for the stars fell into two categories: those who joined the Council and accepted its limitations, and those who fought alone and fell. Humanity was the first to choose a different path, to reach out and build true cooperation among the overlooked and forgotten. Admiral Sullivan's voice cut through the revelations. Multiple energy spikes detected. The precursor fleet is powering up their primary systems. The tactical displays showed the massive alien ships beginning to move, their living metal hulls shifting and flowing into new configurations. Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the command channel. Captain, we figured it out. The quantum crystal matrix, the programmable matter. It's not just similar to their technology, it's a key. Every species in the Alliance contributed a piece of the puzzle without realizing it. Together, we rediscovered something the precursors left for us to find. The precursor ships had now formed a massive ring around Earth's orbit, their energy readings climbing to levels that threatened to overload the Alliance's sensors. The embedded message in their transmission finally decoded, revealing words that made Captain Chen's heart race. The time has come to end the age of separation. Throughout the solar system, Alliance ships moved into defensive formations, their crews representing the greatest collaboration of species the galaxy had ever seen. On Earth, Dr. Rodriguez and her team prepared to implement their desperate discovery, knowing they would only get one chance to prove humanity and their allies worthy of the precursor's test. In the command center, Captain Chen took a deep breath as she faced the gathered representatives of humanity's allies. All our lives, we looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone, she said. We weren't, but more importantly, we're not alone now. Whatever the precursors have planned, we face it together. The massive rain of precursor ships began to pulse with energy that defied known physics. In that moment, as the combined forces of the Alliance prepared to face their greatest challenge, one thing became crystal clear. The next few minutes would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of all intelligent life in the galaxy. Across Earth, billions held their breath. In council space, even the most hardened politicians watched in tense silence. And in the void between worlds, ancient machines of living metal prepared to render judgment on an experiment billions of years in the making. Just as the precursor fleet's energy rain reached critical levels, Lieutenant Park's console erupted with new alerts. Captain, we're detecting quantum signatures from council space. Massive ones. The tactical display shifted to show hundreds of new contacts emerging from faster-than-light travel. The council's reserve fleet, ships that hadn't been seen in 10,000 years. This isn't their test. High Counselor Vex Thor's transmission cut through the chaos, their crystalline form pulsing with an urgency no one had ever seen from the usually stoic leader. The precursors aren't here to judge us. They're running from something, and now it's followed them here. The massive energy rain generated by the precursor fleet suddenly shifted, its purpose becoming clear as new sensor data flooded in. They weren't preparing to attack. They were creating a barrier. In the distance, space itself began to tear open, revealing what looked like wounds in the fabric of reality. Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the command channel, tight with controlled panic. Captain, the quantum signatures we're detecting. They're identical to the void between galaxies. Whatever's coming through those tiers, it's not from our universe. The Meridian Ambassador's crystalline form dimmed to nearly black, a sign of absolute terror in their species. The ancient records, we translated them wrong. The precursors didn't seed the galaxy with life to test us. They created us as a defense network against something they couldn't defeat alone. Through the tiers in space emerged shapes that defied comprehension, massive clouds of darkness that seemed to devour light itself. Where they touched the fabric of space-time, reality itself began to unravel. The combined sensors of the Alliance fleet, the Council Armada, and even the precursor ships struggled to maintain focus on the entities. Full defensive formation. Admiral Sullivan's voice boomed through all channels. All ships, coordinate with the precursor fleet. Whatever those things are, they're not getting past us. The Alliance ships moved with practiced precision, their formations complementing the living metal vessels of the precursors as if they trained together for years. In her lab, Dr. Rodriguez stared at readings that threatened to shake her understanding of physics to its core. The quantum crystal matrix. It's not just similar to precursor tech, it's an immune system. Our programmable matter can repair the damage these entities are causing to space-time. Captain Chen's mind raced as the pieces fell into place. The Drachnid invasion that forced humanity to innovate, the Council's negligence that drove Earth to reach out to other species, the hidden technological advances that each Alliance member brought to the table. It wasn't a test. It was preparation. All Alliance scientists, coordinate with Dr. Rodriguez's team, she ordered. Every ship with quantum crystal hybrid technology moved to these coordinates. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to save reality itself. The Council's reserve fleet, ships of impossible elegance that had guarded the galaxy since before recorded history, took up positions alongside Alliance vessels. High Counselor Vex Thor's voice carried a hint of humility that would have been unthinkable months ago. We were wrong about everything. The Council wasn't meant to maintain order. We were meant to prepare for this moment. Humanity didn't defy the natural order by uniting the younger species. They fulfilled it. The void entities surged forward, their very presence causing instruments to fail and communications to distort. But where they touched the precursor's energy barrier, something unexpected happened. The quantum crystal matrix developed by the Alliance responded, not just repairing the damage to space-time, but strengthening it. The precursors, Lieutenant Park shouted over the chaos of battle stations preparing for combat. They're not just protecting us, they're completing a circuit. Look at the formation. On the tactical display, the position of every ship, Alliance, Council, and Precursor, formed an intricate pattern that somehow felt familiar to everyone who saw it. Dr. Rodriguez's hands flew over her console as understanding dawned. It's a DNA helix, a galaxy-wide double helix. The precursors didn't just seed life. They built a living defense system across all of space. And we're the antibodies. The void entities slammed against the energy barrier with force that made the fabric of space shudder. But where they struck, Alliance ships moved into position, their hybrid technology resonating with the precursor fleet's living metal. The Council's reserve fleet added their ancient weapons to the defense, their technology suddenly revealing its true purpose, not to wage war, but to preserve reality itself. Captain Chen watched as humanity's greatest achievement unfolded before her. Not the defiance of the Council, not the victory over the Drachnids, but this species from across the galaxy fighting as one, using technology they had collectively discovered, to face a threat beyond imagination. The void entities gathered for another assault, their incomprehensible forms seeming to laugh at the notion that mere physical beings could stop them. But as Alliance ships moved into position, their crews representing every member species working in perfect harmony, the true magnitude of the Precursors' plan became clear. They hadn't created life to find worthy successors. They had created life to evolve something they couldn't. Perfect cooperation in the face of extinction. Every species brought something unique to the battle. Humanity's innovation, the Meridians' crystal technology, the Araxians' quantum computing, even the Council's ancient guardianship. All of it necessary, none of it sufficient alone. As the void entities prepared their assault, Captain Chen opened a channel to all ships, Alliance, Council, and Precursor alike. "This is what we were meant for," she declared, her voice carrying the weight of a destiny billions of years in the making. Not to fight each other, not to compete for resources or power, but to stand together against the darkness. For Earth, for every world, for reality itself. The quantum crystal matrix hummed to life across thousands of ships, its pattern matching the very structure of life itself. The Precursor fleet's living metal responded, transforming the energy barrier into something new. A weapon built from the combined will of every species in the galaxy. And as the void entities surged forward once more, the true battle for existence was about to begin. Time seemed to slow as the void entities crashed against the combined defense of the galaxy's united civilizations. The quantum crystal matrix, now synchronized across thousands of ships, lit up the space around Earth with patterns that mirrored the structure of DNA itself. But something was wrong. The barriers failing. Lieutenant Park's voice cut through the command center. "These things, they're adapting faster than we can respond." On the tactical displays, the void entities were learning, shifting their assault to exploit weaknesses in the defense pattern before they even formed. Dr. Rodriguez's face appeared on the main screen, her eyes wide with realization. "Captain, we've been thinking about this all wrong. The DNA pattern, the quantum resonance, it's not just a weapon or a shield. It's an algorithm. The Precursors didn't just give us the tools to fight. They gave us the blueprint for evolution itself." In that moment, Captain Chen understood. She opened a channel to all ships, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "All vessels, prepare to execute convergence protocol. This isn't about holding the line anymore. It's about taking the next step." The Meridian ambassador's crystalline form pulsed with sudden comprehension. Of course, the ancient records spoke of ascension, but we always interpreted it as individual advancement. They meant collective evolution. Admiral Sullivan's voice crackled through the command net. "Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. Those things are breaking through." The void entities had begun to tear holes in reality faster than the quantum crystal matrix could repair them. The very fabric of space-time was starting to unravel around the fleet. "All ships, link your quantum crystal systems to the main network," Chen ordered. "Dr. Rodriguez, initiate the convergence sequence." Throughout the combined fleet, crews worked frantically to integrate their systems. The living metal of the Precursor ships seemed to sing with resonant energy as the pattern grew more complex. In her lab, Dr. Rodriguez watched in awe as the quantum readouts shifted into configurations she had never imagined possible. The pattern, It's not just DNA anymore. We're creating something new, something that's never existed before. The void entities sensed the change and redoubled their assault. Space itself screamed as they tore into reality with renewed fury. But where they struck now, something extraordinary happened. The quantum crystal matrix didn't just repair the damage, it transformed it. "Energy readings off the scale," Park shouted. "The matrix is absorbing their attacks and restructuring them. This is like nothing we've ever seen." The tactical display showed the impossible. The combined fleet was no longer just defending. They were reshaping the very nature of space around them. High Counselor Vexthor's transmission carried a note of wonder that made their crystalline form shimmer. This was their plan all along, not to fight the void, but to transcend it, and it required all of us, Council, Alliance, Precursors, working as one. The quantum crystal matrix reached critical resonance, and suddenly every ship in the fleet was connected in a way that transcended normal spacetime. Crew members gasped as they felt their consciousness expand, touching minds across species barriers, across the gulf of space itself. "This is it," Captain Chen whispered, feeling the combined thoughts and hopes of thousands of species flowing through her mind. "Everyone, focus your thoughts on the pattern, not just the quantum matrix, the pattern of life itself." The void entities recoiled as something new emerged from the combined fleet, not energy or matter, but a new form of existence altogether. The quantum crystal matrix had become a bridge between normal space and something beyond, a higher dimension of reality that the void entities couldn't comprehend. "It's working." Dr. Rodriguez's voice was filled with triumph. "The pattern is stable. We're not just fighting them anymore. We're changing the rules of reality itself." The void entities tried to retreat, but it was too late. The transformation spread like a wave through space, converting their entropy-based existence into something new, not destroying them, but evolving them, just as the precursors had evolved all life in the galaxy. But in that moment of apparent victory, something unexpected happened. As the transformation wave swept through space, it didn't stop with the void entities. It began to affect everything: ships, crews, even space itself. This isn't just about saving reality. The precursor's message finally translated fully in Park's system. It's about transforming it. Evolution requires change, total change. Captain Chen felt it first, a tingling sensation as the quantum resonance began to affect organic matter. Around her, crew members gasped as their bodies started to shimmer with the same energy that filled their ships. The Meridian Ambassador's crystalline form began to pulse with new patterns of light, while the living metal of the precursor ships flowed like liquid stardust. "Don't fight it," she commanded, her voice carrying across all channels even as her physical form began to transform. "This is what we were meant for, not just to defend existence, but to help it take the next step." The void entity's assault had become a dance of light and energy, their destructive force transformed into creative potential. The combined fleet, no longer bound by physical constraints, moved as one consciousness through dimensions that had no names. Dr. Rodriguez's final transmission came through as reality itself began to shift. The DNA pattern wasn't just a defense system, it was an encryption key for the universe itself. And together, we've just entered the password. The transformation reached its peak, and for one brilliant moment, every being in the fleet existed simultaneously as matter, energy, and pure consciousness. They saw the truth. The void entities hadn't been trying to destroy reality. They had been trying to force it to evolve, not understanding that evolution required cooperation, not destruction. As the light faded and new senses came online, the assembled species found themselves changed, not destroyed or replaced, but transcended. Physical forms remained, but now housed consciousnesses that could touch the quantum fabric of reality itself. Ships had become extensions of their crew's will, and space itself had gained new properties that made the void entity's entropic assault impossible. Captain Chen opened her eyes, or whatever they had become, to see a galaxy transformed. The threat was over, not through destruction but through evolution. Humanity had not just survived. They had helped guide the galaxy's species into a new stage of existence. But as the fleet regained its bearings in this new reality, a final message from the precursors appeared. Phase 1 complete. Prepare for true revelation. And in the distance, at the edge of their new senses, something stirred, something that made their recent transformation seem like a small step in a much longer journey. The story of humanity's fierce retaliation had ended. The story of their greatest adventure was just beginning. In the days following the Great Transformation, Earth's orbital space became a gathering point for beings trying to understand their new existence. The quantum consciousness they had gained allowed them to maintain their physical forms while simultaneously experiencing reality on levels that would have been impossible to comprehend before. Captain Chen stood, or rather, existed, at her familiar station in the Alliance Command Center, though both she and the center had evolved far beyond their original forms. The holographic displays were now unnecessary. She could simply think about the information she needed, and her enhanced consciousness would connect directly with the quantum fabric of space-time to retrieve it. It's remarkable, Dr. Rodriguez observed, her form shifting between physical and energy states as she spoke. We've maintained everything that makes us human, but we've gained the ability to be so much more. Her research team, now a blend of organic and quantum consciousness, continued to study the changes that had swept through the galaxy. The precursor ships, no longer needed as separate entities, had merged with the Allied fleet to create something entirely new. Vessels that existed simultaneously as technology and living consciousness, capable of navigating both physical space and the quantum realm. But it was their final message that still occupied everyone's thoughts. Prepare for true revelation. Lieutenant Park, his consciousness now able to process information across multiple dimensions simultaneously, had been analyzing the quantum patterns left behind by the precursors. Captain, I think I understand now. The void entities, the transformation, it wasn't random. The precursors knew that only by facing extinction could we achieve the unity necessary for this evolution. But they also knew this was just the first step. The Meridian Ambassador, their crystalline form now pulsing with quantum energy that bridged dimensions, shared ancient knowledge that had gained new meaning. Our oldest stories spoke of cycles of creation and transformation. We thought they were myths, but they were memories, encrypted in our very DNA, waiting for the moment when we would be ready to understand. High Counselor Vexthor, who had remained with the Earth fleet following the transformation, manifested their consciousness in the command center. The old rivalries between Council and Alliance had dissolved in the face of their shared evolution. We're detecting similar transformations occurring throughout the galaxy. Every sentient species, whether they participated in the battle or not, is evolving. The quantum resonance pattern spreads through the very fabric of space-time. Admiral Sullivan, his tactical mind now operating on levels that merge military strategy with quantum physics, had been studying the strange stirring they had detected at the edge of their new senses. Whatever it is, it's vast, far larger than our galaxy, and it's waiting, as if it wants to make sure we're ready before revealing itself. Dr. Rodriguez's team had made a breakthrough in understanding their new existence. We're not just transformed humans or aliens anymore, she explained, her consciousness projecting the complex quantum patterns that now made up their being. We've become quantum nodes in a living universe. Every thought, every action ripples through the fabric of reality itself. And somewhere out there, something is watching these ripples. The void entities, now transformed into beings of creative rather than destructive potential, had begun communicating with their former adversaries. Their existence had been a necessary catalyst, the pressure needed to force the galaxy's species to achieve their true potential. In their new form, they shared knowledge that spanned universes and dimensions beyond counting. Captain Chen called a gathering of all transformed species, formerly Alliance, Council, and even the evolved void entities. Their consciousnesses merged in a grand assembly that transcended physical space, each maintaining their unique identity while sharing in a collective awareness that spanned the galaxy. We started this journey trying to defend Earth from the Drachnids, she addressed the assembled consciousness. We continued it by defying the Council and forming the Alliance. We faced what we thought was annihilation, only to discover it was metamorphosis. But now we face something else. Not a threat, but a calling. The stirring at the edge of their awareness had grown stronger. As their understanding of their new existence expanded, they began to perceive patterns in the quantum fabric of space that had always been there, hidden beneath the surface of reality. The precursors hadn't just seeded life in their galaxy. They had connected it to something far greater. Lieutenant Park's consciousness resonated with sudden understanding. The DNA pattern, the quantum crystal matrix, they're not just tools or weapons. They're keys. Our galaxy is just one cell in a vast living organism, and we've just become aware of our place within it. The assembled consciousness of humanity and their allies pondered this revelation. They had transcended physical form, gained the ability to shape reality itself, and yet they were still just beginning to understand their place in the universe. Through their quantum connection, they could feel other galaxies undergoing similar transformations. Across the cosmos, countless civilizations were reaching the same point of evolution, becoming aware of their role in something far greater than themselves. Dr. Rodriguez's consciousness pulsed with excitement as she shared her latest discovery. The stirring we're detecting. It's not just one thing. It's everything. The entire universe is alive, conscious, and we've finally evolved enough to perceive it, to join it. The former void entities, now beings of pure quantum creativity, shared their perspective. They had been like antibodies, testing the galaxy's species, pushing them toward the transformation necessary to achieve universal consciousness. Their destructive nature had been a reflection of reality's need to evolve. High Counselor Vex Thor, their crystalline consciousness resonating with newfound humility, addressed the assembly. For 50,000 years, the Council tried to maintain order by preventing change. We couldn't have been more wrong. Change, evolution, was the purpose all along. As if in response to this understanding, the stirring at the edge of their awareness grew stronger. The quantum fabric of space itself seemed to pulse with anticipation. Whatever revelation the precursors had prepared them for, it was approaching. Admiral Sullivan's tactical consciousness perceived patterns in the quantum fluctuations. It's not coming to us, he realized. We're going to it. The entire galaxy is moving, drawn toward something extraordinary. Captain Chen felt it too, a sense of movement that transcended physical space. Their galaxy, along with countless others, was being drawn into a grand convergence. The transformed civilizations of Earth and their allies were about to discover their true place in a living cosmos. Dr. Rodriguez's research team detected changes in the quantum fabric itself. The patterns are shifting. Whatever's happening, it's changing the fundamental nature of reality, not destroying it, completing it. The assembly of consciousness watched in wonder as space itself began to transform around them. The barriers between galaxies dissolved, revealing connections that had always existed beneath the surface of reality. They were all part of something greater, a cosmic web of life and consciousness that spanned the entire universe. Lieutenant Park's enhanced senses detected a message encoded in the quantum fluctuations, the true revelation the precursors had prepared them for. It's an invitation, he announced to the assembled consciousness. We're being called to join something infinite. As the galaxy continued its journey toward universal convergence, Captain Chen addressed the combined consciousness of humanity and their allies one final time. We started this journey defending our home. We continued it by reaching out to others, forming bonds that transcended our differences. Now we face the greatest step of all, becoming part of something truly universal. The transformed beings of Earth, once limited to their tiny blue planet, now stood ready to embrace their role in a living cosmos. The story that had begun with humanity's fierce retaliation against those who would destroy them had evolved into something far greater, an awakening to the true nature of existence itself. Dr. Rodriguez's final analysis flowed through the quantum consciousness. We thought we were fighting for survival, but we were really fighting to wake up. And now that we're awake, our real journey is just beginning. The assembled consciousness of humanity and their allies, now aware of their place in a living universe, prepared to take their next step into an infinity of possibilities. Their transformation had not been an end, but a beginning, the first moment of true cosmic awareness. As their galaxy approached the point of universal convergence, the beings of Earth felt not fear, but anticipation. They had evolved beyond conflict, beyond physical limitations, beyond the boundaries of their own consciousness. Whatever waited for them in the infinite expanse of the living cosmos, they would face it together. The quantum fabric of space resonated with a final message from the precursors. Welcome, children of the stars, to true existence. And with that, humanity and their allies stepped forward into a reality greater than anything they had ever imagined, not as conquerors or defenders, but as awakened consciousness in a living universe. Their story had come full circle. From fighting for survival to discovering their place in a cosmic consciousness, humanity had grown beyond their wildest dreams. And somewhere, in the infinite quantum web of the living universe, the next chapter of their existence was about to begin.